Good day everyone, my name is Ronalyn B. Labio and today we are going to discuss the Lesson 9 together with my partner Ms. Hamelo, the DepEd guidelines on lesson planning. For our lesson objectives, in this lesson you will be able to determine the legal basis for instructional planning in the Department of Education. Second, identify the key features of instructional planning. Third, explain the instructional planning strategies could be integrated in with the DepEd guidelines. With the promulgation of Republic Act No. 10533 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, the education sector has changed. It has moved from a competency-based curriculum toward a standard-based one. So furthermore, the way learners are assessed and evaluated under the new curriculum has also changed with the K-12. So putting more emphasis on performance and outputs rather than simple pen and paper tests. So it is therefore imperative that planning for instruction would also change. In this lesson, we are going to look at the guidelines from the Department of Education on instructional planning and look at some of its more salient features. So we have here the DepEd Order No. 42 Series of 2016, the Policy Guidelines on Daily Lesson Preparation for the K-12 Basic Education Program. So in line with the implementation of Republic Act No. 10533 or the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, the Department of Education issues the enclosed policy guidelines on daily lesson preparation for the K-12 Basic Education Program. Planning lessons is fundamental to ensuring the delivery of teaching and learning in the school. These guidelines aim to support teachers in organizing and managing their classes and lessons effectively and efficiently and ensure the achievement of learning outcomes. Furthermore, these guidelines affirm the role of the K-12 teacher as a facilitator of learning, preparing for lessons through the daily lesson log or the DLL or detailed lesson plan, the DLP, and provides teachers with an opportunity for reflection on what learners need to learn and how learners learn and how best to facilitate the learning process. These guidelines also aim to empower teachers to carry out quality instruction that recognizes the diversity of learners inside the classroom, is committed to learner success, allows the use of varied instructional and formative assessment strategies, including the use of information and communications technologies or the ICT, and enables the teacher to guide, mentor, and support learners, developing and assessing their learners across the curriculum. So we have seen in the previous lesson that instructional planning plays a vital role in the delivery of learning. We have also learned that there are various strategies to plan for classroom instruction. As such, the DepEd released guidelines to ensure that instructional planning is done in an orderly and regular fashion. In the eyes of the Department of Education, instructional planning is fundamental to ensure the delivery of teaching and learning in the schools. It is means to make sure that the teacher could visualize the lesson before it could be delivered to the learners. Instructional planning is comprised of three major steps advocated in the policy, namely planning instruction, delivery of instruction, and assessment of learning. So this process expects the teachers to come to class prepared to organize and develop a plan, implement it, and determine how well the plan was implemented. So as mentioned in the previous lesson, key features of the K-12 curriculum makes it a unique curriculum. These features include the spiral progression of content, constructivist view on learning and meaning-making, and use of differentiated instructions. Thus, instructional planning should also reflect these features in the lessons the teachers plan for. So next is the elements of the learning plan. The lesson plan serves as the teacher's map in attaining the objectives of the lesson. As such, it should be carefully crafted, containing the necessary details to tackle the particular topic. Essentially, the lesson plan should answer the following question. First, what should be taught? Second, how should it be taught? And the third, how should learning be assessed? So essentially, the lesson plan should answer the following question. First, what should be taught? Second, how should it be taught? And third, how should learning be assessed? So the first element of the learning plan is what should be taught. In planning for the daily lessons, the teacher needs to follow the curriculum guide of the target area. As such, a deep understanding of the curriculum is required from the teacher in order to teach the curriculum content. Key areas to be taught from the curriculum guide are content standards, essential knowledge or understanding, performance standards, and the learning competencies. So the teacher needs to understand the subject matter deeply and flexibly so they can help students create useful cognitive maps, relate one idea to another, and address misconceptions. So it is important that the teacher know what topic he or she is about to teach to his or her children. So the second is how should it be taught? The DepEd policy also acknowledged that with the use of the lesson plan, the teacher can identify which part of the lesson the learners could find difficult and address them appropriately. Furthermore, teachers are expected to utilize varied strategies. So these strategies could include: first is the direct instruction, where the material is taught in a sequential manner. This strategy is usually used in teaching facts, rules, or action sequences. So in this strategy, the focus is on the teacher presenting the material they want students to learn. For example, if an English teacher wants to teach the students about metaphors, she would give the students the definition and provide numerous examples of metaphors. Second strategy is indirect instruction. It is the strategy that directly involves the learners as a more active in the classroom rather than a passive one. So the third is interactive instruction. It uses active learning methods to engage the learners to interact with each other and their teacher. So, interactive instruction is when students learn through social interaction. Examples of interactive instruction include group discussion, question and answer sessions, debates, and tutoring. So the fourth is experiential instruction. It involves the learners in the learning experience. So they become part of the learning process rather than simply a recipient of learning. Thus, the teacher puts emphasis on the process rather than the product. So the main idea behind the phrase experiential learning is building upon what one knows to expand that knowledge into action. So this means learning comes in part from what experiences and opportunities arise for a person. Put simply, experiential learning is the process of learning through hands-on experience. The last is independent study. The teacher's control of the learning experience is reduced and gives the learners the rein on their interaction with the content. And the last element is how should learning be assessed. Lesson planning not only involves planning for the execution of the lesson, it should also convey an assessment plan in measuring student learning. The policy refers to DepEd Order Number 8, Series of 2015, entitled Policy Guidelines on Classroom Assessment for the K-12 Basic Education Program. So the guidelines put premium of the use of formative assessment as a tool to help learners identify their strengths and weaknesses. It also helps the learners make adjustments to their teaching as areas of concern are identified. And now, let's proceed to the learning plans. DepEd Order 42, Series of 2016 recognizes that teachers acquire more experience and competency as they progress in the teaching profession. As such, it provides different plan templates or different teachers. Newly hired teachers without professional teaching experience will be required to prepare a daily detailed lesson plan or DLP for 1 year. On the other hand, teachers with at least 1 year of teaching experience will be required to use the weekly daily lesson log or the DLL. So we have here the parts of the detailed lesson plan or the DLP. So before the lesson, this part describes the preliminary activities prior to the actual introduction of the lesson. In this part, the teacher reviews the previous lesson and clarifies concepts from the previous lesson that may have been unclear to the learners. After doing so, the teacher introduces the new lesson and makes a connection between this lesson and the old one in order to establish a purpose. Finally, the teacher states the lesson's objectives before the class. So next is the lesson proper. The teacher presents the new material to the learners. He or she employs various strategies and methods to convey the new concepts, skills, and competencies to the learners. It is also here that the teacher checks for the learner's understanding and provides them with feedback. So in this part of the lesson plan, the discussion will happen. And the last part of the detailed lesson plan is the after the lesson. This begins with a wrap-up activity where the teacher provides a summary of the lesson or asks the learners to summarize the lesson for the class. It is also where the ideas learned are reinforced or whether the learners have mastered the day's lesson. So in this part of the DLP, there is an interaction between the teacher and the students. So that's all for my part. Thank you and God bless everyone.